to another recent reads. Goodness gracious, like last week's recent reads just went up yesterday, and first of all, my face is super oily right now because I have Vaseline on it. But yesterday's recent reads went up, or last week's recent reads went up yesterday, and that shit was like an hour and some change. I did not intend for it to be that long, but it was a long one because I read a lot and I had a lot to say. I don't think that this week's is necessarily going to be that long, but today is Tuesday, and so I didn't really do any check-in yesterday because yesterday it was a lot yesterday. I worked yesterday, then I had to come home and cook dinner yesterday because of the fact that I didn't get to cook on Sunday, so I had to cook yesterday, and so that took me like an hour and a half. Then with getting baby girl ready for bed, reading to her, and the whole nine, like I was just exhausted. Then I did my workout last night too, and that kind of took me out. But I did end up finishing On Rotation yesterday, which is, see, this is confusing because I feel like On Rotation is a cross between women's fiction and a romance. It's weird. Like a lot of what I'm coming across, not a lot, I'd say what some traditionally published romance books that I've been reading this year, a lot of them feel more heavy-handed on the women's fiction aspect of it because it's so much about the main character, the heroine's journey, instead of it being centered on the romance. And so this one, it's a very thin line for me because I felt like a lot of it was about her character growth. So we follow the heroine, and she's in med school, which I think is really, really unique, that because this one is written by an actual person who works in the medical field, which I adore because the actual terminology, the experience of being an intern, a resident, whatever, was really, really realistic to the story itself. And so we follow her as she, in the beginning of the novel, gets dumped by her boyfriend, has a horrible relationship with her parents, and does not do well on her medical exams in order for her to be placed into a specialty and to do her residency. I believe that she's doing her residency. I always forget like the steps that it takes when it comes to like med students. But so she's still in med school, and or maybe it's an internship. Maybe she's not doing her residency yet because she hasn't graduated. Who knows? But she doesn't test well. So basically they're saying like she can't get into one of like surgery specialties. So she does rotations in different areas like internal medicine, she does peds, and she does OB. And so I thought that was really interesting because for me, it was like, I like medical stuff. I would never be able to do it. I used to be a candy striper when I was in high school, and I love volunteering in the hospital, but I just don't have first of all, I don't have the brain capacity to do it. It's a lot of math and science, which we're like oil and water, we don't mix. But also, like, I don't have the stomach for it either. So that was just never an option for me. I wanted to be a nurse at one point, and I was like, nah, this is not, I know me, and this is just not going to work. Volunteering at the hospital quickly taught me that I was not cut out for that field. And so essentially we follow her as she gets over a breakup, and she's trying to really determine like what is she gonna do in the medical field because she didn't really test that well. And at the same time, you know, she's the parents, she's a child of Nigerian parents who've immigrated, who have very strict ideas of what she should be doing in terms of her schooling and her career. And so she struggles a lot with that because the relationship is unhealthy. It makes her feel like she's not worthy of anything, or she's not accomplished, which being a black woman in med school in itself is a huge accomplishment. I also like that the author tapped into how black people are treated in the medical field. That was a whole freaking bonus for me. Like, I always say, like, I've heard so much about how black people are treated in the medical field. Of course, you know, I still want to read Medical Apartheid, which I have to get the stomach for that because 10 pages in, I was like, holy crap, this is rough. But the thing about it is that I did not have my serious firsthand experience, like one that I think I was actively aware of. I've had some experiences with my child, which I don't even want to dive into that. That's complete bull. But I had my first like heavy hardcore, like, yo, like people really do operate like this. I had my first experience when I had my daughter, and it was rough. It was really rough, like dealing with people who are supposed to be professionals. These people who have gone to school and they have made a pledge to treat patients the way they should, and they don't do what they're supposed to do, and they treat their black patients differently, and they believe in these archaic racist ideals that are harmful to the black community. I am so happy that she did that, because she is a medical professional, and she is the author is a medical professional. She's a black medical professional, and so it would have been very alarming for me if that was something that wasn't addressed, because I'm sure she sees a hell of a lot more than what we even see as patients. I'm sure there's a lot of back end stuff that she sees. So that was like, yes, I was so happy to see that. The romance aspect was really interesting because the hero is dealing with some issues of his own, particularly the fact that his dad is an alcoholic, and so he has a lot of pent-up anger, and rightfully so, about that. And he, see, what's challenging about this too is that technically there's some emotional cheating that goes on in the beginning of the book, because when the two of them first meet, he technically is in a relationship, but you could tell that there's chemistry between them, and he kind of takes the relationship a little bit further than probably what he should have, considering that he did have a girlfriend. And yeah, so you know, that becomes a thing. So I would be kind of weary of that. I think it was slight emotional cheating, but that's just my perspective and analysis of it. There were some other interesting elements about their relationship. It was a lot of back and forth, to be honest with you, and a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings. And I think a lot of that has to do with their past relationships, though, where he has been in relationships where he gave his all, and it comes back full circle and has pretty much screwed him over. And she had only been in one serious relationship, and she talks a lot too about being a dark-skinned black woman and how people perceive you being of a darker complexion. I don't necessarily have to deal with that because I am not. I'm not darker skinned, but I know that I have friends, and there are plenty of people, even within our own community, in the booktube community, who talk about like what it's like to be a dark-skinned black woman and the impact that it has on how people treat you and see you and perceive you, or whatever the case may be. So she does talk about that and all of that too in relationship to her dating experience, but she doesn't really have much dating experience. And so that's pretty obvious when they enter into this relationship, that she doesn't have a lot of dating experience. And so she does some things that are really like not necessarily mature, but so does he. And so they spend a lot of time like not wanting to DTR, define the relationship, and it's a lot of back and forth and some just not necessarily healthy things. To be honest with you, it wasn't like it was bad, but I wasn't as invested in the relationship and what ends up happening between them as I was in her medical school journey and just her finding herself. That to me was more interesting than anything else, to be honest, which is why I say that these books are so difficult sometimes because they're supposed to be romances, but they end up reading more like women's fiction. And I think in this case, because there was such a huge emphasis on like the medical school journey and like the relationship that she had with her parents, even the relationship that she had with her sister, like her sister trying to look out for her, and her sister's like, you know, this is what you do. Even like there was even a high focus on like her relationship with her best friend, which I loved. That like it was not just this side character that was like, oh, you know, like I support you, don't support you. Like they had true issues because of how our main character kind of carried herself. They ended up having a lot of issues to the point that they fall out. And so I liked that we got so many different aspects of her life. So it wasn't just focused on this relationship that she has with this guy. Like it was a part of her life, but it wasn't all of her life, meaning that it wasn't the sole focus of the narrative. So, I mean, I liked it. I think it was a solid, like, 4-star read for me. I think at one point I was teetering in between, like, I was thinking, like, maybe 3.5, but I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4, because honestly, I did enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing, like, if she comes out with any other romances, and I would really prefer her to keep with, like, the medical things, because, like, she's coming from a place where she genuinely knows, like, the medical aspects of it, and it's not anything that's just, she's just kind of Googling. Like, she knows in and out exactly what it's like, so the experience just comes off like just more authentic, and so I appreciated that. I don't think I've finished anything else. I am in the middle of currently reading so much stuff because I just can't decide what I want to read next, where I want to go. I did read more in the Attractions and Distractions series by Alexandra Warren. It's the sophomore year. I think like 100 and some change into that one. It's not long. I think I have like 50 pages left of that one. And honestly, y'all, Alexis and Jaden like drive me crazy. They're so back and forth, but it's so reminiscent of what it's like to be a college kid and dating that it's not shocking that they have so much back and forth. Like, no lie. It's not shocking at all that they keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because they're young. I think in this book, Jaden just turned 21. I don't even know if Alexis is 20 yet. She may be 20 at this time. So, of course, their relationship is not one that's based on maturity, because they're both in college. And so it's very true to the college experience, but they're very easy to digest. I said this about the first one last week, that they're so digestible, they're easy to read, so I probably will end up finishing that one. I am 5 volumes behind on my manga challenge because I just have not picked up a volume of manga, but I'm halfway through The Devil's a Part-Timer Volume 1, so I'm reading that. And then I also picked up, what else did I pick up? Seaside Love, Love in a Seaside Villa. I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of those ones that I just recently bought, which is a Yuri manga. So I have those 2 that I am in the middle of reading right now. I am currently listening to 2 audiobooks. So I have one audiobook that I listen to on my phone, and I have one that I've been listening to like off my laptop at work, off of Hoopla. And the first one is The Counselors by Jessica Goodman, which I've never read Jessica Goodman. I'm very picky about my YA thriller and mystery authors, to be honest with you, because a lot of them don't necessarily do it that well, which is super unfortunate, because I think that it is a good like genre for younger readers, and I just have not really seen a lot of people like do it super well. Like Holly Jackson had potential to be killing the game, but Holly went and put out that daggone 3rd book, which I just cannot get past. I can't get past how that 3rd book just kind of like screwed me up. Are you telling me to stop? There's a lot of construction, and so there's guys out here with the stop sign. Yeah, so I'm reading The Counselors by Jessica Goodman. It's all right. I mean, it's a camp mystery where we have a main character who essentially has taken, you know, she's taken a secret on for someone that she shouldn't have, and then someone essentially ends up dead, and so we're trying to figure out like who killed the guy. And there are a couple people who have potential, and so it's a good, I think it's a good commentary on like class and wealth and privilege, but I don't think like the actual reveal, to be honest with you, I don't feel like the reveal is going to be that good. I just feel it in my soul that it's not going to be that good. So I am reading that one, and then I am, what else am I reading? Okay, so I can't remember the name of it, to be quite honest with you. It's unfortunate, I can't remember the name of it, but it is a historical romance by an Indian author, and I wanted to check it out because it's by an Indian author, and it features, I think the main character is Indian. I don't think she's biracial. I think she's Indian. And it's, so far, I mean, it's okay. Like, I mean, I just wanted to listen to historical romance, and so that was the one I chose. I'll make sure I put the cover up because I can't remember the name of the actual book. But I'll put the cover up. But I'm at work. I'm running behind, so I need to go, and I will check in later. Let's talk about how I'm tired as shit, and this is the only update. This is the second update that I've done, and both of my updates have been in the car. So last night, just a little story time. Last night was a night for us to do exclusive sprints. And so I was tired yesterday, but it rejuvenated me, and then I fell asleep on the live. What's new? I've fallen asleep on lives before. And so at 3:30, I got woken up because my neighbors who live above me in the apartment above me, they are extremely loud. They work second shift. And so whatever, that's what time you work, that's what time you work. Like, it's not a big deal. I rarely ever hear you come in. But when you come home and you're like running around and screaming and yelling like you're fucking two, that's a problem, because you have people who do not work second shift who are sleeping and you wake them up. So needless to say, I got woken up at 3:30 this morning, and I went back to sleep at 6 o'clock and was back up at 7. So I am extremely fucking tired. That's always a plus. I am so tired right now. But besides that, since I last checked in, which I talked about on rotation, I have finished, let's see, I think I've finished 3 books since then. I'm like, what have I finished? So I finished the second book in the Attractions and Distractions series, which is sophomore year. I don't really want to say much about it because I think that I would spoil it. Like, the joy of reading the series is kind of going to each one, not really knowing much about what's going to happen. And so I can tell you just the premise. It does follow main character, a heroine by the name of Alexis. She's in college, and literally she's just trying to figure stuff out, and she has this love interest by the name of Jaden. And at the start of this, Jaden and Alexis have issues like they always have, and so they're trying to figure those issues out, whether they want to be together or not be together. And so it was a lot. It's messy, it's drama, it's drama, just drama. It's so much drama. But yeah, it's a lot of drama, but they are trying to figure out their relationship. And so this one was I think it's the shortest of the series. I think this one only clocks in at like 198, and the rest of the series, they're all at least over 200 pages. Like, all of them are like 250 or higher. So this was the shortest one, and the ending was like cliffhanger of all time cliffhanger. I really like Alexandra Warren's writing. As I said before with the first book, like, you can tell that this is her first series that she wrote. It's clear that this was in the earlier stages of her writing. I think the series came out in like 2014 or 2015. So she's definitely become a stronger writer since then, but that's not to say that her writing isn't enjoyable or it's not as, you know, it's not good. It definitely is, but it's always interesting seeing like authors transition from where they have begun to where they're going to end up as they become more mature writers, because you always can improve your craft. So I finished that one, and then last night during the sprint I ended up finishing The Devil's a Part-Timer Volume 1, which I am still about, I think, like 4 or 5 volumes behind where I should be for the 31 and 31, but that's fine. I will catch up. I'm gonna catch up. I'm determined to catch up. But I read, and it's so muggy out here, y'all. I always do these check-ins in the car when like the lighting is horrible. But I did finish The Devil's a Part-Timer Volume 1. I'm gonna end up giving that one 4 stars. It was a reread for me. I needed to reread it because I own volumes 2 and 3 and I haven't continued the series. I originally had watched this as an anime, and then I decided to pick up the manga, even though I know the manga is based on the light novels, and maybe I will go back and read the light novels, but for right now I'm reading the manga. And it literally is about a demon lord who is fighting a hero, and he ends up like in a really tough situation, so he takes a portal to our planet, essentially, or like our time. It's weird, but he ends up in Tokyo. Essentially, he ends up in Tokyo, and so he's trying to live his life and function living in Tokyo. But it's interesting because he works at like this knockoff McDonald's, and his right-hand man, his lieutenant, lives with him, and then their worst opponent, or their adversary, who is part angel, is also living in Tokyo at the time. And so they all have lost their powers, and they end up meeting again, and they end up forming a very interesting relationship because there's actually somebody who's come to Tokyo that is after all of them. So that's pretty much the premise of that story. But it was a solid read. Like, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was 4 stars. There were a couple of moments where I kind of laughed out loud, and so I probably will try to pick up volumes 2 and 3 before I finish the 31 and 31. I'm like, what am I trying to say? Before I finish the 31 and 31. So yeah, so there's that. And then I also ended up reading Love and Seagull Villa. I can't remember, but the cover will be on the screen. And so I read this one, and I had heard before that this series was a little bit more like dark thematically than what people anticipate it being, because it looks like it's just going to be like this cute Yuri that takes place at this villa, and these 2 women end up meeting and possibly falling in love. But it's pretty gritty. It's only 3 volumes long, but this first volume was really interesting because we have our main character who's moved to the country, to this villa, because her fiance ends up leaving her for another woman who he has gotten pregnant. That already was a lot. Then we meet our second main character, Rin, who is raising a child. I don't want to explicitly say like how they're connected, but she's raising a child on her own, clearly with no one else there. And that's where I'm going to leave that part. It is a lot heavier than I anticipated. It's a lot of exploration of grief, and I think in some aspects possibly depression. And the way that this one ended was like a super huge cliffhanger. I was very shocked about the way that this one ended. I wasn't expecting it to end the way that it did. And so now I'm like, I really need to get my hands on volume 2, because then I'll have an even better understanding of exactly what's going on. So yeah, those are the things that I finished. I had started listening to Deep in Providence on audio, but I actually think that this is going to be one of those books that I need to pick up physically. And the reason why I say that is because Deep in Providence, first of all, it's an extremely long book. It's thick, but that's not the only reason. It's told in 3 different perspectives, and the perspectives change fairly quickly. And I started the audiobook over twice just yesterday. I started the audiobook over twice, trying to keep the perspectives straight, and I feel like I am already kind of like struggling with that. So I think I'm going to stop listening to that one on audio and go ahead and switch to reading that one physically. I also have another physical book, but I'll talk about that one later when I'm in a position to kind of like hold the physical book, you know, maybe a little bit. So I'm gonna change that up. I'm not going to be able to really listen to anything today. This is probably going to be one of my lighter reading weeks, because I'm not going to be able to listen to anything today for the simple fact that I have kind of like a online conference today, and it's from 10 till 5 o'clock. And I also have meetings in between the conference, so I'm not going to be able to really listen to anything today. I was supposed to go take care of some stuff during my lunch break today, and so I was gonna do some stuff then, but I'm not gonna do said thing because there's no purpose in me doing said thing anymore. But I do need to go home and pick something up because I didn't pack my lunch, because I was going to make a business run like a business run during lunch, and now I don't have to do it, so I didn't pack lunch like a dummy. And so now I have to figure out what I'm gonna do about lunch, which is always fun. That's always super fun, but I think I gotta run home and do something so I can do something about said lunch, and then I will be back. But yeah, that's it, y'all. And then I'm sorry this is not a more sit-down formal check-in. I wish it was, but damn, like, ugh, last night, man, like, it's just awful. So now I'm tired. I got a Monster, which I try not to drink Monsters, and as part of my, like, my healthy eating routine, like, I don't intake as much sugar, so I had to get Monster Zero Sugar, but these are not good for you at all. But I need something, because coffee does not do good on my stomach when I haven't eaten, and I don't do well with coffee first thing in the morning. I've noticed that. It makes me nauseous. And so I did that one day last week, and I literally was nauseous all freaking day last week. So with that being said, I did not want to do that to myself today. Can you just not, can you, like, thank you, move out the way. Lord, people can't drive in this state. Oh my goodness, they cannot drive. Okay, well, I'm gonna go because I'm running late. Like I said, I'm running late because my child needed a damn white t-shirt for tie-dye day today at school, and I forgot, and then I remember when I got there, and then she had other stuff going on with her clothes and stuff, and so I was like, I gotta go to Walmart, so now I'm running late. But yeah, I will check in later. Okay, I look like shit, and the reason I look like shit is because of the fact that basically we had to go to the hospital last night, or I should say this morning, 1 o'clock this morning. My daughter could not breathe last night, and so she has an emergency inhaler, but the emergency inhaler just wasn't working. So honestly, like, that shit high-key scared me last night. So took her to the emergency room, and so there is no reading update. There is no reading update because I'm so fucking tired. Today is Saturday. I have not slept since 6 o'clock Friday morning. So I have been up for over 24 hours. We are slowly gonna be, I probably will be, by the time this is said and over with, I probably will be up for 36 to 38 hours before I am able to really get some sleep, if not longer. But I just, the amount of stress that I have been under, there's no way that I was gonna read anything. She's fine now. She's not 100% fine because they admitted her to the hospital. So we're going to be there for at least tonight. But I have a family friend with her right now, so I can take a shower because I was not, you know, this was at 10:30 last night, so I hadn't even started getting ready for bed. I hadn't really eaten anything. It was very, you know, all of a sudden, and I didn't make the final call to take her to the emergency room until about 1 o'clock this morning. So I need to go home and shower and change my clothes. I am still wearing the same clothes from yesterday. I feel gross, and I need to eat, and I may be able to get some listening done at some point because she also has not slept. She slept maybe like 2 hours. They did a couple of breathing treatments. The first one didn't work. The second one, it did work better, and she fell asleep during that treatment and she slept. probably for about 2.5 hours, which for you know, at this point she's 3. For a 3-year-old, it's just nothing. So I may, you know, but probably not, y'all, because what I probably will end up trying to do, well, I don't even know if I really truly want to do this, because I was about to say, well, I'll just take a nap when she takes a nap, but I feel like if I do that, I will not wake up. But I do need to collect some things and really just get my life together. This is one of those times when, like, you know, your life doesn't go the way you anticipate it going, and wrenches get thrown into your plans. And so I had planned to do my bookshelf reorganization video and everything tonight when she went to sleep, and so that's not really going to end up happening. And this recent reads is not going to go up on Monday. I think this will go up on Wednesday, and then on Monday I will have probably like kind of like a mid-year check-in of like how I've been doing with my reading, just kind of like a brief discussion about that stuff. But I definitely had like planned to bulk film tonight, but I will be at the hospital with my baby tonight, which I'm glad that we are getting the care that she needs, because that was pretty intense last night. But I thought I would come through and kind of let y'all know that I mean, I have been reading. I started it's a Harper Voyager fantasy. I can't remember, is it Punky Bindle Bruja? Something along those lines. I'll make sure I put the cover on the screen. And my brain also is fried right now, but I'm almost 50% into that one. That's a 400-page book. I was reading a book that had disability rep of an amputee. It's a girl in India who liked to dance. She was extremely competitive, placed really well, the whole 9, and ends up losing her leg in a car accident. I DNF'd it because last night when I was reading it, there was like a section where it was like, oh, I'm not disabled, I'm differently abled, and like, so there were just some things, some terminology and some things in there that didn't age well, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really gonna enjoy the disability rep in this, because I'm already feeling like terminology and stuff that's being used and some things that she's saying that I don't really care for. So I just went ahead and like, I'm just gonna save myself the heartache. I did start reading A Taste for Magic by JL, which is her new middle grade book that is coming out on the 30th of August, not this month. And so I did start reading that. I didn't get that far in. I can already tell y'all, I don't know how I feel about it, because there's no build up to the magic system. We literally find out that she's magical in like the first 10 pages, which is strange for a middle grade fantasy. There's usually a little bit more build up than that, but we didn't get any build up in this, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and run in and get my life together. And I probably, honestly, I mean, I may check in when she goes to sleep this evening. I don't know. I make no promises, but if not, I will check in whenever I get a chance to check in again. Hey, so we are about to check out. We've completed our stay here at the hospital. And so I just wanted to check in and let y'all know that everything is looking better. It's looking good. And yeah, I did read one thing while we were here, just while she was sleeping and, you know, being confined to a room. There's just nothing really else to read. So I did end up reading Something Is Killing the Children, Volume 1. This is my 3rd time reading it. I'm reading it because Bree and I have a live show going through volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and technically, yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the end of this month. So I wanted to go ahead and get a jump start on that. But we are going to head to the grocery store and pick up some lunch and head home. I think I'm going to take off the next 2 days because she's still not 100%, and she now has to go to her primary care physician so we can follow up and make sure everything is good. And it was good. Everybody was very, very helpful. She definitely was struggling there, but they have her on a good regiment in terms of medication and action plan and everything. So we're gonna go from there, and that's it. And so I will check in with y'all later. I'm probably gonna end up ending this reading vlog at some point today, and this one will go up on Wednesday instead of tomorrow, because just it will end up going up on Wednesday, and I'll start a new one tomorrow. This is gonna be one of the shorter ones just because, you know, things happen. Things have happened this week, and not much that I can really do about that, folks. But yeah, I will check in later. Hey y'all, so this is probably gonna be my final update. It's been a very, very long week. I wanted to not necessarily like go over everything that I read this week, because I think for the most part I have talked. You see me over here going through this stuff, trying to figure stuff out. For the most part, I have talked about everything that I have read so far this month. I think the last thing that I told y'all that I ended up reading this month was what was it called? Was Something Is Killing the Children, Volume 1. I did end up finishing that while we were in the hospital, and so we were just really relaxing today. We didn't really do much of anything else once we got discharged from the hospital. But so I did end up reading more stuff, which I didn't think that's humanly possible, but I ended up reading 1, 2, 3 books. They're all shorter though, novella length, or like 100 pages. No more, none of them were more than like 150 pages, I think. None of them were more than 150 pages, but that's why. But I felt like really diving into some Black romance, and so there was 1 that I needed to finish reading, and 2 that I had been on my TBR for a minute and I hadn't finished them. But I think I did talk about this in one of my videos. I did DNF A Time to Dance by Padma Venkatraman, and that's because I came across a section that I didn't really care for in terms of the word that was used, and it was on page 56 where it says well, from 55 it says, when he calls my lopped off leg a residual limb, when he says I'm differently abled, not handicapped, not disabled, when he's nearby using his kind of words, he makes me feel a little less ugly. That just didn't sit well with me. Also, this book is older. This book came out in 2014, so it's almost 10 years old, and I just had a feeling just from that section, I mean, there could be some character growth in here or some better look at disability, but that section alone was kind of like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't even want to explore that anymore. I'm pretty much done, because I don't feel like it's gonna go uphill from here. So that's kind of why I kind of steered, which is interesting because I don't usually openly DNF, but I openly DNF that one. So the other books that I did end up reading was the Mr. series Prelude by Beloved. Earlier this year, I ended up reading Mr. Librarian by Beloved and really enjoyed it, and so Beloved has decided to continue that series and call it the Mr. series. So in this Prelude, she introduces us to a series of different couples that are going to end up getting their own books, and it's dark and gritty. It's gonna be one that's not necessarily for everyone, particularly a couple in which there is some domestic violence that occurs, not necessarily on behalf of the hero, although he does rough her up in a way that I'm not okay with, but it was somebody else that has abused her and she's trying to pin it on him. That's gonna be kind of a tough one. And then there's a story in the end where someone is trying to reckon with a loved one that has walked out on them, and that's because of a situation that she has gotten into herself, which also has an element of abuse. So I think those two stories are definitely going to be more difficult. I think there's like a revenge element in here that is going to be interesting. I'm very interested in seeing how she's going to lay out each one of these stories. and which ones I'm going to end up liking the most, because I think we were introduced to like 4 or 5 different couples, and one of them wasn't a couple pairing, it was 2 brothers, one who had been very cautious about how he treated women in dating, and another who hadn't been, and now you learn a little bit about how that's coming full circle and kind of low-key biting him in the butt. I'm very interested in how that's going to play out with the 2 of them. But I think that I'm going to give that one 3.5 stars. I haven't written my review on Goodreads yet. The next one that I ended up finishing was Brand New, which is On the Clock number 8. Shay Sanders just announced on her Instagram that she is coming back with another book in the series, which is HBIC, where we get to meet the CEO of the company. So all of these books take place at the same company, and we follow different couples in each one of these books, and they are couples that end up meeting while on the clock, which is why it's called the On the Clock series. In this one, our hero and our heroine meet they meet at the strip club because our heroine is a stripper. She works at the company as well, and she works in the food part, like, I don't want to say cafeteria, but she works in that aspect for the company. He works in IT, but they meet at the strip club. He falls in love with the stripper, like as in T-Pain, like I'm in love with the stripper, falls in love with the stripper. And so they have a very, very cute romance. This is the first time that I think that I've read a romance where it's a virgin trope. So she's a virgin, and so she loses her virginity to him, and it was so realistic in the sense that I think we often shy away from having those conversations in romance where everyone perfectly like gets off and has an orgasm all the time, which is not reality. Most women have difficulty having orgasms during sex, and so Shay Sanders addresses that, and I loved it. I love that, like, you know, not only are we getting this thing about like how uncomfortable her first time may or may not be, but also the fact that she's having sex and it's like she's not getting off. Not saying that the sex is bad, but like she's not having this, you know, toe curling, body spasming orgasm, and it's reality. And so I'm so glad that she addressed that. I think that it was hard when there are some consequences that come for the 2 of them having fraternization, because in the beginning of the book it says like, if you fraternize you will get fired, and so there's some conversation about that. But I really like Shay Sanders as a writer. I've read so many of her books now. I've read all 8 in the series, in addition to, I think, let me see, that's 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I've read about 12 or 13 of her books at this point. I'm gonna throw it in the ballpark of 12, 13. I really enjoy her as a writer, and so I have downloaded some more of her stuff, and I think I'm just gonna work my way through her backlist because why not? And then I also ended up finishing Words with Friends, which is a Mason family novella. This is the second book in a series that follows the Mason family, which is a family of 30 cousins. We don't get a book for all 30 cousins, but a select people within the family that we get books from. A few years ago, I ended up reading 2 books in the series were Thanksgiving, like I was trying to read Black romance Thanksgiving books, and I ended up reading those 2 that are part of the series, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and read the whole entire series. And I had read a couple other books by Ashley Nicole that I really ended up liking, and so it was no surprise that I was like, okay, I'm probably going to enjoy a lot of her works. The thing about Ashley Nicole is that she writes genuine romantic comedy. When I say that Ashley Nicole will have you laughing your ass off when you read, I mean literally laughing out loud. Not like, oh, you're smiling. No, no, no. You are giggling because she's hilarious. This was no different. I love the dynamics between a hero and a heroine. They end up meeting when she's flying back from a family trip, and he he like makes up this excuse to talk to her about, like, you know, has your luggage come yet? Clearly it hasn't. But they have this great banter, like this jokey banter with each other, where like they crack jokes on each other, and it was just so cute to see this. And he ends up being a podcaster, and he's slightly famous, or whatever the case may be. And so it was great not only getting to know them, but also seeing other characters that I had seen in previous books, and then seeing Leslie, who I know has 2 books that come later, but seeing her now and knowing like how her romance develops, because I read the books completely out of order, was pretty interesting as well. The hiccup that I had with this one, and which was so surprising because I didn't feel like I had this hiccup with any of Ashley Nicole's other books, is that it ends very strangely. Like, it ends in a way that they're together, so they get their the HEA, but well, not really. It's almost like it's an HFN. I would say more of an HFN than anything. But like, it was so abrupt. Like, it was almost like we just like stopped in the middle of a scene when they're at breakfast, and I'm like, that's it? Like, I'm sure we will see them in the next book, but I felt like this one was slightly incomplete, which was kind of a disappointment because I expected a little bit more than what I got. It still was a solid like 3.5 star read for me. I'm kind of teetering, but that ending threw me completely off. But I'm currently in the middle of Surrender, which is an exotic short, or erotic, sorry, short by Rosie Adams. It's about this couple who end up they're not a couple. They knew each other in college. There was a sexual attraction there. They weren't talking about it. They wanted to get together, but they just never spoke about it. And one night they get drunk and they think it's gonna happen, but she ends up getting sick from drinking so much. And so when she's about to fly out the country, he says to her, you know, pick a number between da 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 da, and then pick another number. And he's like, okay. She says 12, and he's like, okay, in 12 years, if you're not with anybody, I'm not with anybody, we will make this thing happen between us. And then when she picked the second number, it was 2, and he said, and we're going to do this for 2 days. And so 12 years later, right before they hit exactly 12 years later, he contacts her, and not that they haven't been in contact with each other, but like, he sends her a plane ticket, and it's like, it's 12 years later, it's time to live out our fantasy of each other. And I'm like, ooh, Lennox, yes. So it's so good. So I'm reading that one, which I probably will finish, so you'll hear me talk more about it in the next recent reads that you see. And then I also am 50% of the way through Bindle Punk Bruja, which does not come out until September. I have an early access copy of it because of Libro FM. But other than that, yeah, like, that's pretty much it, y'all. I did get some book mail, which I can do that really quick, I guess. Which I mean, I haven't been talking about book mail that I've been receiving, but I've been receiving quite a bit of book mail. So the first one that I ended up getting, this is from HarperCollins. This is about a young girl that moves from Taiwan to California, and it is in the beautiful country. And I am excited to pick this one up because it is told in verse. And so this is going to be a quick read. I don't know if I will get to it this month, but we'll see how the rest of my month goes, I guess, because I still have that stack that I have in my July reading plans video that I have not touched just yet. I also got a copy of The Lightning Thief. First of all, I don't know who this came from, so thank you to whoever sent this to me, because I don't know who sent it. It is an illustrated copy of The Lightning Thief, and thank you to whoever sent this. It is beautiful, y'all. It is so beautiful. I am tempted to reread The Lightning Thief, even though I'm still working my way through The Lost Hero. We're not going to talk about why I haven't updated y'all on that, because I haven't picked that up in a month of Sundays. Literally a month of Sundays. But this is beautiful. So if you sent this to me, thank you. I appreciate you. You're amazing. I also was sent a copy of Improbable Magic for Cynical Witches, and I know that this one, a lot of people have been wanting to read this one, at least at the library. A lot of people have been wanting to read this one, and it is an atmospheric romantic coming of age about learning to make peace with the past in order to accept the beauty of the present. This is also from HarperCollins, and I think a lot of people have enjoyed this. People have read it, I think, have enjoyed this. So that one. I also got a copy of The Black Girls Left Standing by Juliana Goodman. This is a book that follows a 16-year-old who is living her life just having her own dreams and ambitions until her sister is killed by an off-duty cop. And so I know that a lot of people were looking forward to reading this one as well, and I think she's looking for answers as to why this happened. This is a junior library guild selection, which in library world is a huge thing, just so you know. Also, Celadon sent me a copy of the book The Kingdoms of Savannah, which is a book that takes place in Savannah, Georgia. I feel like this one is, I don't know if this is a thriller or not, but it feels like it's a thriller / mystery because it talks about a man will be murdered and his companion will be disappeared. Unlikely detective, yeah, of Savannah society is called upon to unravel the mystery of these crimes. So yeah, this is detective thriller mystery type of situation going on by Celadon. Some of the stuff, y'all, just so you know, like it's unsolicited, okay, meaning I have not requested it. I have some other packages here that I'm gonna go through really quickly because why not. I have some books that I was sent by somebody, once again, I don't know who, because it was no note. All it said was enjoy your gift. So thank you to whoever sent this to me, but I was sent a Christina C. Jones book, behind the scenes. It is gorgeous. Love it, love it, love it. I can add this to my Christina C. Jones collection, which I am, oh y'all, okay, I'm not even talking about how excited I am about that one. And then they also sent me Make a Scene by Mimi Grace and Sweet Hand, which, thank you to whoever sent these to me. Like, I don't know who sent this to me, y'all, because there was no note, but thank you for sending me these three. Like, I appreciate you and love you and adore you. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to hurry up because my battery is finna die. All right, this is one that I think I got myself. Yes, because I had been looking forward to buying this one, and that is Otherworldly Izakaya Nobu, volume number 3. I have volumes 1 and 2, and I have been looking forward to reading volume 3, but I didn't have a copy of it, so now I can continue the series, which is good. That's what we should be doing, buying books to continue series, not to buy books that are just going to sit on the shelf. And then this one did have a note on it, and this is from, I thought this one had a note with it. Maybe? Yes. So this is from Jen. Thank you, Jen. I'm going to keep the note to myself because that's news to share later, but thank you. You know what I'm talking about. And so Jen sent me this beautiful book, which I cannot wait to show y'all. And I know so many people who hate this book, but I quite enjoy it. Okay? I quite enjoy it. And this edition is so beautiful, and I don't want to open it, but I do want to open it, and it makes me want to pick up the book and read it right now. And that is this hardcover version of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is so beautiful. Holy crap. This book is gorgeous. It is so gorgeous. I'm so excited to read this, Jen. Thank you so much. I read The Great Gatsby like 2 or 3 times, but it's been a minute since I've read it, and so I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next thing that I got is from Penguin, and this is a book that comes out. This has come out September of this year as well, and it is How to Succeed at Witchcraft, and they sent us these bookmarks, which is really cute. I'm excited for this. This comes out September 27th, so it's a little while before this one comes out, but either way, I'm excited to it's another magical school book. It's a lot of books that have magical schools this year, and I'm not mad at them for having magical schools, so I'm excited for that one. And then I think this might be the last thing that I have. I'm pretty sure I didn't request this one, but I think it got sent to me anyway. I saw an email about it, but I don't feel like I requested it, but which is fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I'm so grateful for it because I definitely went to go look at it in the store the other day, and I was like, dang. So this is from Candlewick Press. And yeah, I did get an email about this, and I did check this out in the store because I was like, this might be interesting. And I received a copy of The Gifts That Bind Us. This is one that's gotten a lot of positive reviews through journals. It's the Kirk has star reviewed, which for me as a selector is a huge thing that his Kirk has starred a reviewed book. And this is another magical book that deals with, I think, friends and teen psychics. This one has some really great illustrations in it, which is what drew me to the book originally. Was like, oh, these illustrations with the I think these are tarot cards, with the tarot card illustrations. I think that's really interesting. But is it a long one? No, it's not a long one. It's almost 400 pages, but you know, and nowadays it's nothing. So I did receive this one as well. But thank you everyone for, you know, for sending me books. Like, I'm really appreciative because it's not anything that anyone has to do, but it, you know, it's nice. It's definitely nice. I am going to have to be cleaning out my bookshelf soon because I have so many books. Like, it's ridiculous. It's been a lot. It's been a whole lot. And so I'm hoping that it goes a lot better. But I definitely will check in and make sure that I'm keeping y'all updated. But it's just nice to be back home after the weekend that we've had. And I'm glad that my little one is doing a lot better. Good morning, y'all. I am finally going back to work today. She is doing a lot better now, and so it is time to get back to our normal routine. I did slow down on my reading because of the fact that, I mean, she was in the hospital, and so I was completely and totally exhausted. I am just now starting to kind of get back on track with my schedule, but I'm still a little bit on the exhausted side, but that's fine. I just wanted to let you guys know that I did end up reading some stuff. When I was at the hospital, it was one night I couldn't sleep, and so I ended up starting to go through and start my reads for Something is Killing the Children, which a live show for that is going to end up being at the end of this month for Bree and I, our comic book club. And so I probably should go ahead and make that thumbnail and make sure that everybody is aware of that date. But I pretty much started getting all of that stuff read on, what day would that be? I think on Monday of this week. No, Sunday. Maybe it was Sunday night. Y'all, I'm so confused about when I did. No, it was on Monday. Okay, so Monday is when I made the decision to go ahead and start reading that stuff. But I did end up reading volumes 2, 3, and 4 for that series, as well as House of Slaughter. There really isn't much that I can tell you about any of those because, of course, it's a comic book series. It builds on itself. I can't really say anything to you. I can say that they're 5-star reads and that House of Slaughter made me cry, which is very strange because this is a horror comic book series. It is very gory. It is very dark. It is literally about monsters that kill children and nobody is spared. It shows graphic death on page, and it's not really necessarily, I think, 100% for the faint of heart. If that's going to bother you, then I definitely would not recommend picking this one up. But I love it because I love James Tiny, and as a matter of fact, last night I was contemplating, I was like, oh, you know, like, I low-key want to read all of his stuff, and so that may be a project in the works, maybe something like that. But I did read all of that stuff. So that was volumes 2, 3, 4, and then House of Slaughter. And then I also ended up reading a manga. I am still very, very behind on my 31 and 31, and that's because of life in general. Clearly life has kicked in, but I did end up reading The Demon House of Momochi House by Aya Shoyuoto. I think that's how you say their last name. This definitely reminded me of, what is the Kamasami Kiss? This definitely felt like a ode to that. And so it is about a character by the name of Himari Momochi, who is inheriting this house. And when she goes, she finds that there are actually 3 guys who are already living there. And she's trying to figure out why. Of course, they are connected to the paranormal world. And she finds out that the main guy who is there, Ao, is a connection between the human world and the spiritual world, and so he has to stay in that house, which it definitely feels super connected to Kamasami Kiss. And so this was okay. I wasn't particularly like mind blown reading this, and my library doesn't have any more of the volumes because volumes 2 and 3 are hard to find. Actually, I was able to find them on a discount comic book online store that I'm familiar with, but I'm not pressed enough to want to buy these volumes and continue them. I think this is one of those series where I would be like, okay, if my library had all the copies, I would continue to read it, but it doesn't, so I just don't feel pressed to continue to pick this one up. It was a solid 3-star for me, and I think that I'm just gonna stop with this one volume. At least I did end up giving it a try, and so that was what mattered most. I haven't been listening to anything, and I haven't been really reading much of anything else. Last night I had a little bit of trouble going to sleep because, as you can hear, I am now getting a little on the congested side because I picked up whatever my daughter had, and so it's not hitting me as bad, and it's not COVID, by the way, but she tested negative for everything. We don't know what it was, but I just kind of am feeling myself go down just a tad bit. But I couldn't sleep last night, so I randomly picked up How to Love a Duke in 10 Days. Like, literally, this was like the most random pickup. I have this one and the second book. I can't remember when I actually bought these, but I also have the second book, which is All Scott and Bothered. And so I've been meaning to read this for a while, and I mean, this is a longer historical romance. It's over 400 pages, but I at least read the introduction last night, and I will say there is a huge content warning for rape at the very beginning of this. And I knew that because I had read some reviews, and thankfully the people that I had followed had already included in their reviews that there is a huge content warning for rape. And so I just made my way through the prologue last night, so I'm only on chapter 1, but it follows 3, well, it's about a woman, Alexandra, who is attending this school, and she's friends with these 2 other girls who are all redheads, and they all have secrets that they're carrying that kind of makes the bond of their friendship really, really strong. Of course, her secret ends up being that she is raped, and something happens as a result of her being raped. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the story develops. A lot of people love this one, and so I'm interested to see how I'm gonna feel about it. But I, like, literally my entire mode of listening has just not, like, reading and listening has just not been my forte at this moment. I still need to finish up. I'm about 50% into Bindle Punk Bruja. I have 4 hours of that one left. I may go ahead and finish that one today because I need to go ahead and finish that one. And then I also need to dive into Delilah Green Doesn't Care because I I have to return that one in the next few days. So those are probably going to be my 2 focuses over the next couple of days. We'll see. I have a lot going on today. I am supposed to be having lunch with a children's author today and then listening to her speak. So that is going to take up a portion of my day today. And then I just wanted to do a quick haul because I've had some stuff go on, and so, you know, when stuff goes on, the best thing that you do, it's retail therapy, at least for me. I know a lot of people who do that. And so I did pick myself up some stuff, some romances that I had been wanting, and then also some manga. And the manga is because my daughter and I went to Barnes & Noble, and literally we just went to go look, and they had a manga sale, which was buy one, get one half off. The damage that was done is awful. But the romances that I ended up picking up, Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I read this one every single year. I am due for my reread for this year. This will be my 4th time reading this book. I have read it as an ebook, I've listened to it audio, but I have never read it physically. So I'm excited for this one because this will probably be the time that I'm going to read Birthday Girl and annotate it. And then I also ended up picking up 2 Christina C. Jones books, which is Ante Up and then Deuces Wild. This is a part of her, what series is this called? High Stakes. This is her High Stakes series. And so I've already read Ante Up, but someone sent me the novella a while ago, and then I didn't have the 3rd book. So I decided to go ahead and pick up these 2 so I can fly through them. In terms of the manga that I picked up, it's a lot, y'all. And it's 12 volumes, which picking up 12 volumes at once is a lot, but it kind of is what it is type of situation. Okay, so I did pick up, if I can do this by series, this would help. I tried to get 2 of each series, but there were a couple that I didn't do that with. I did get volumes 1 and 2, which had Atelier, which I've heard great things about. The artwork in this one is really, really great, so excited for these 2. I also ended up picking up 2 volumes of Perfect World because I had started reading Perfect World as a library checkout and I was really, really enjoying it. So when I went to the store yesterday and I was like, oh, well, I might as well go ahead and start collecting this one. So I did get volumes 1 and 2. And just so like a heads up, I collect typically like on a series that my library doesn't have, or if I read it from the library and I really, really like it. And so that's usually how I make the determination of whether I'm going to buy a series or not. I typically do not buy a series without knowing much about it or without my library having it. And so of course we all know I love Sweat and Soaps. I got volume 6 and 7, which I only have 8, 9, 10, 11. So 4 more volumes of that to pick up because that one is finished. I did end up getting If I Could Reach You volume 3 and volume 4. I own volumes 1 and 2. I had originally picked up volume 1 and 2 because my library did not have volumes 1 and 2. I picked up the 3-in-1, the first 3-in-1 of Naruto. I've read volume 1 in this, but I need to read volumes 2 and 3. I wanted to collect Naruto, but I didn't want to do the single collections. There's over 70 volumes, and so I just don't have the space. So I thought it would be better if I ended up doing the 3-in-1 collection. I picked up a copy of Fire in His Fingertips. I've heard so much about this from Shay, Tamika, and Izzy. And so I heard this one is very interesting in terms of like, it's a lot of lovely feelings about that. I picked up Blue Lock, which I think recently just got published in English. And this is a soccer manga, which y'all probably didn't know, but I played soccer for years into high school. And I stopped playing clearly, but I love soccer. And so when I saw this, I was like, a lot of people have compared this to Haikyuu. I haven't read Haikyuu either, but I'm excited to read this one. And then the last one is Otaku Love is Hard for Otaku, and everyone is loving this one now. And so I had started also reading this one from the library and really enjoyed it, so I decided to pick it up. And then the last thing that I have, which is not manga, is I picked up the Cartel Deluxe Edition 2, which includes books 4 and 5. I own books 2 and 3. I've read books 1 and 2. I need to pick up 3 because I don't think I've read 3, or at least I've started 3 and didn't finish it. But they had 4 and 5 in one bind up, and I was like, I'll pay for the 4 and 5 bind up instead of trying to, you know, buy them individually. But that is it, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead, as you heard me, I'm gonna go ahead and get my child because she is ready to get the day going, and so I will check in with y'all later if I end up picking anything up today. Hopefully I will pick up some audiobook, but we'll see how everything goes. So we've had a busy day today. We did story time today, and you found a bow? Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe put it in the bucket. It's late. Well, not really late. It's a little after 8. I just had to film a video that's going to go up tomorrow. I was going to do an individual recent reads for last week and then do a different for this week. But the way that my schedule has been set up, I'm just going to combine these 2 weeks. So I will end this one tomorrow, and this video will go up on Thursday. This recent reads is going to go up because I'm so tired of not putting my recent reads up. So I'm going to give y'all a quick reading update. And then I have a small book haul. Baby girl's playing in the background, so that's why you hear all that stuff. So I believe I talked all about my reads of like Something is Killing Children, House of Slaughter. I also feel like I talked about the Demon Prince of, what is it? The Demon Prince of the House of Momochi. I don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I feel like I talked about all of that. I haven't really done much reading, to be quite honest with you, because I felt like I was going into a bit of a slump, but then not really. But then really I was. But I did end up finishing 2 other volumes of manga. I finished A Sign of Affection volume 1, which, thank you to Izzy. I was really interested in A Sign of Affection because I had heard Izzy talk about it. It follows Yuki, who is deaf, and she is in college. And she meets this guy who ends up being our hero, and she's really into them. And it really is just following their development of their friendship and their relationship, and she clearly has feelings for him. So it seems like it's going to be a really interesting story. I love the artwork. I love the incorporation of the sign language and learning more about Japanese sign language. And there's another sign language, excuse me, that is used that I will put somewhere on the screen below or somewhere or something like that, because I can't remember exactly like what the sign language is called, but it's 2 that's really discussed. And I also ended up reading How to We Relationship volume number 3. This series is a tough one. I can see why people are like, it takes kind of an interesting turn in this one. This is not going to be a series where we're going to see a healthy relationship between these 2 characters. I think at this point, based off of what happens in this volume, which I can't really talk about because it is a 3rd volume, based off of what happens in this volume, I am convinced that they are not going to stay together. I just feel that way. I don't know because I haven't read volumes 4, 5, or 6 yet, which are all out, but I feel like they're not going to stay together. I kind of did not like something that happens with one of our main characters in this one. I don't like how she handled a situation, and I actually don't really like the way the author or the mangaka, I don't really like the way the mangaka handled the situation either, because it puts the character in a very unnecessary position that is a very compromising position, to be honest with you. So I am going to be ending up reading volume 4. I just don't know when I'm going to pick it up. I think I already put it on hold, but I think somebody has it checked out. So I did end up reading that. I also did end up reading a book that everybody has been reading, and so I was super nervous about it, but it was Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and I loved it. It was a 5-star read for me. It follows a main character by the name of Delilah, who has left her small town and has vowed to never come back, but she ends up coming back because her stepsister asked her to come and be the photographer for her wedding, and she's engaged. And so she comes back to the small town, and she ends up seeing Claudia, who is Astrid is Delilah's stepsister. So Claudia is Astrid's best friend. They've known each other since they've grown up, and so we get to see them coming to contact for the first time again, and it is definitely an instantaneous attraction between the two. Not insta love, but just an instantaneous attraction that we get to see between the two characters, and it's good. What I loved about this book so much is that it is and I called her Claudia, y'all. Her name is Claire. That's how I was looking at it. I was like, Claudia doesn't sound right. Her name is Claire. This is why I don't say character names, because I always get them wrong. So basically we get to see Claire and Delilah navigate their relationship, but there's also these complex themes between Claire and her ex, who's the father of her child, and her being a single mom to a preteen. We get to see Delilah having to deal with her relationship dynamics with her sister, and each one of these side characters is so fully developed and complex that we get this really in-depth and extensive cast that I don't think you typically get in some books, especially in a traditionally published romance. You don't really get that feel, and so no one felt flat. Everyone felt three-dimensional. Everyone had internal conflicts, external conflicts. Everyone felt real, and so I love that. So we weren't just figuring out the relationship between Delilah and Claire, but everything else around it. And so the writing was just fluid. It was poetic. It had me very invested in the story, which for me, with a traditionally published romance, that can be a hit or a miss. And I feel like if the author is able to do this with all of her books, I'm going to love her completely. So that was a 5-star read for me. And I know, by the way, she's done some middle grade stuff, so I'm really interested in that. But have a small haul for y'all. Really? Yeah. It's a triangle? Can you tell me what color the triangle is? Purple. Purple! Alright, y'all. So I have a small haul for you. I did a thrift books haul because I hadn't done a thrift books haul in a while. And I realized that I had acquired some historical romances that I did not have the right books for. That's pretty. She's coloring. She's drawing and stuff. So I have read Joanna Shupe before. I ended up picking up The Rogue of Fifth Avenue. I've read Joanna Shupe before, but I haven't read this series. You can come sit by me. Come on. So I picked this one up. I picked up a mystery book, which is Her Royal Spyness, which by Reese Bowen. This is one that you say hi. Hi. This is one that I had not actually read yet because I had books 2, 3, and 4 in the series, but I didn't have book 1, so I never started the series. And I was like, I need to pick up book 1 because I don't know how I own books 2, 3, and 4, and I haven't read the first book. So I picked that one up. I also picked up Alyssa Cole's How to Find a Princess. I know this one is not as good as the other books in the series, which y'all can't see. They're right here. Like, kind of, maybe if I duck a little bit. No, you still can't see. But so I know that this is part of the Runaway Royal series, and people do not like that one or like this one that much, but I still picked it up. Now. You see now? Yeah. Wow. I also ended up picking 3 of Eva Lee's books, and 2 of these I have read. So this is the Union of the Rakes. This is the Union of the Rakes books. I have read What I Lied to the Duke as well as My Fake Rake. My Fake Rake was actually my first historical romance ever. So, I mean, I had to pick these up. I enjoyed both of these. I think that
I'm hungry.
I ended up really liking this one. Like I said, this was my first historical romance, but I love this one. There's a quote from this one that's like, get on your knees and receive your penance. I'll never forget that line. I absolutely love that. And then I didn't own the third, well, I didn't own any of them, but I haven't read the third one in the series, which is Waiting for a Scot Like You. And all of these are based off of 80s movies, so that's probably why I love them so much. I also ended up picking A Duchess a Day, which is a Snow White retelling, I believe. I got A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah McLean, who I have read before. I ended up picking up A Duchess by Design, which is the first book in the Gilded Age Girls Club. And then the last one that I got is the second book, and I forget what the series is called, but I read Secrets of a Summer Night earlier this year, and it was a 4-star read for me, and I realized I did not have the second book, which is It Happened One Autumn, and so I wanted to pick this one up so I could continue with the series because I do own the first one. I also got 2 things from publishers. HarperCollins sent me The Last Beekeeper by Pablo Cartaya, and this one is a future, it's almost like it's like a adventure future dystopian book where it's climate disasters have happened, and so it kind of looks like technological to some extent. This is a middle grade one, and I have been looking at that one for a while because I got it from the library and I was like, oh, I want to pick that one up, and I didn't know that I was going to be receiving that one. And then Forever Pub sent me the third book in Erica Ridley's series, which is Nobody's Princess. I love that cover. So finally I have all 3 books in the series, so now I can go ahead and fly through them. Yeah, oopsies, right? I know. So the first one is The Duke Heist. The second one is The Perks of Loving a Wallflower. And of course, like I said, Nobody's Princess is the third one. I could really kill Forever Pub for changing the size of these books. So these 2 are like larger mass markets, and this is a smaller one. Aren't they pretty?
Yeah.
But I'm so
Cool.
I'm so upset that that one is smaller, but now I can fly through and have all 3 of these.
That one.
You like this one?
Yeah.
All right, y'all, so that is it for right now. I need to clean up because I just got finished filming, like I said. I am in the middle of reading 2 things right now. I did start Fresh Ink.
What's this?
How Do We Relationship?
It's a relationship.
So I did, like I said, I did start Fresh Ink, and I also started Black Canary Ignite for the Kid I Saw in My Dreams, volume number 2. So I probably will be reading these. I actually have a small get together to go to tonight, so we'll see if I get any reading done. But as always, I will check in later. Toodle. Hey y'all, so this is the final clip for this recent reads. It's been a really chaotic 2 weeks, and so I am happy to finally be getting this recent reads up. I was supposed to get it up before, but I didn't get it up because, you know, life happens, and it just was easier for me to roll over everything to these 2 weeks. I really haven't read anything else since I updated y'all last night, and I was debating whether I should include this on this week's recent reads or the next recent reads that'll go up, but I'm going to include it on this one. I did end up reading Sadiq and the Fun Run. This is by Seaman Nurali, who is a Somali author, and this is about a Somali character and family, and I think he just kind of pretty much goes on like different, I don't want to say different adventures because that's weird, but we just follow different phases of his life. It's really, really short. This is more of one of those like traditional text where kids who are transitioning from like a picture books and beginner readers to actually getting into chapter books. This is really good. These books also have like really interesting illustrations. I don't know if my camera will focus. So it's good. Like I mean, it was a quick read. It took me all of like 30 minutes to read this. It's 56 pages long, but I liked it. I liked it enough that I went and I put the next one on hold. And this one, Sadiq is wanting to play football, but he's only like 8 or 9. He's not that old in this, and so he wants to play football, but he can't play football because his parents are like, no, which I don't blame them. And they're like, your brother didn't start playing until he was 12, but his 2 best friends end up playing football, and so he gets really bothered that he can't play football. And then his brother is like, oh, well, you know, you should go to like the running club, because in order to be able to play soccer or to play football, you need to be able to be in condition to run. And so he joins a running club and learns a lot about himself and his friends and stuff like that. It was a solid read, and I definitely think that kids will find these interesting. I think the next one is Sadiq in the Desert Star. I feel like that's the next one. So that's the next one that I will be picking up and reading. But yeah, 4-star read. I'm going to double check my Goodreads to make sure that I'm not leaving anything out, because I talked about Delilah Green. I talked about How Do We Relationship Volume 3, which I'm still kind of like blown over that. Talked about A Sign of Affection as well. So that's it really, y'all. Like, there's nothing else for me to really talk about in this one, and I'm not going to do a reading update or anything because this is the end of this one. And so yeah, it's been great, y'all. I love doing these. I really do. It's just that sometimes life, life happens. As you can see in this one, life happened a lot. So yeah, but I definitely will be back with another recent read soon. I hope y'all enjoyed. Toodles!